Okay. Can you confirm that you can see that window?
Yes, the pixel's a little off, but I think we can read it. Yeah.
I think it's going to take some time initially, but it's going to get good. Let me know if you
Okay.
have.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Perfect. So whenever you're ready, I can start.
Okay. Yeah, please, you can start.
Cool. So my name is Mustafa Alipur. I met most of you guys and it was great to talk to you all. What I actually prepared for you in this session is to talk about some lessons that I learned in practice, in what I tried to build as startups. Now it's several times. And, what I thought that is wrong. If I wanted to do it again, what I will change for myself, right? So let me give you some quick background about myself. So who am I, what I did before in life, and that can give you some idea where I'm coming from. And I'm going to also talk about the main topic that I am here. So I did finish my PhD in computer science last year in 2024. I had a master before that in AI and robotics, another bachelor in computer engineering. I got also a part-time master in business entrepreneurship and technology during my PhD. I got, I got a certification for self-driving car engineering from Udacity at some point during my master, I think. And I had the chance to work at several research centers, and including, but not limited to, Nosark Lab, Oracle Lab, Computer Vision Center of Barcelona, Vector Institute, Udacity, and some others. I have currently more than 826 citations. I have 2 patents, one for Oracle Lab, one for Nosark Lab, and more than 14 papers. And the last startup that I attempted to build, we actually raised the value to 35 million USD. Let's start. Let's talk about the main things that I am here. But if you had any question at any part, please don't hesitate to ask. The way that I want to explain the lessons, I want to show you with a case study. So the case study that I chose was one of the basic, I think 3 or 4 years ago, I tried to solve one of my own problems. So I was a researcher. I was annoyed with some of the research problem that there was existing at the time. And even now, I think they are still existing. And my goal was there at the time was to make research more efficient. Before I show what was my solution, I would like to know, let's say that you guys want to build a product to make researchers' life easier. I can tell you some of the notable problems. So for example, the very first problem in my mind, at least, is that, that collaboration is very limited, is very local, because simply it's based on if you don't have trust and you end up with working with somebody, there can be easily a lot of problem for you, even in the long run. Even I don't know if you heard about it. A Stanford professor resigned just because they had some papers long time ago that it was some of the results were fabricated. Who knows really who did it? If the Stanford professor, the chairman did it, or basically one of the students did it. So it's super limited. It's based on trust, and that's in my view, it's because it's not scalable is a problem. The second problem that it's existing in this scenario is the lack of transparency. Okay. So this published research, you don't know who did exactly what. So it's just a manuscript of 8 pages, is super limited. So the amount of information that can exist in that manuscript is super limited. And the third problem that is very obvious to me is that this process is very exhaustive and very slow. So if you guys, I want you to think a bit about this problem, because all of the things that I'm going to talk about you sometimes might be relevant. But maybe if you wanted to try to solve this problem, you were also trying to tackle one of this problem or maybe several of this. And, the way we did it, I think I want to show you what we exactly did for this, come up with a solution for those type of problems that I just mentioned in the previous slide. This is what exactly we built. The GitHub code is available. You can check it out. You can see how much effort we put into it. The outcome or the final product was something that we thought is scalable. It was a completely new way for doing peer review, to do a paper publication. It was automatically tracking the contributions. It was a lot of advantages. The main problem it was here that if I go back in time and do it again, I will definitely not do this, because I learned a lot about a lot of problems, I would say. So the first thing, that I would not do is that I will definitely focus on a single problem. I'm not gonna try to solve all the problem at once. Sometimes it's much harder than you think. it's easy to lose focus and get too much excited. And that can cause you a lot of headaches on the long run. Most of us are problem solvers, and we are also very much excited about the technology, or about even sometimes about the problem, but it should be always about the problem, not about the technology or the solution that you are providing. So the way that we did it was that we tried to build simultaneously a new community, a new way to
Can
do
we pause?
research. Yes,
Can
absolutely.
we pause for a slide
For,
before? Yep.
for sure.
Let's go to. I'm gonna paraphrase what you said. Just give me
Cool.
2 minutes.
Perfect.
그래서 오늘 그러니까 모타바랑 오피스아웃 했었을 때 느끼셨지만 이분이 PhD에 어쨌든 워털루 출신이에요. 워털루 출신이 YC에서 제일 잘 나가는 컴퓨터 공학 스탠포드 다음이거든요. 캐나다라서 진짜 가성비가 높은 엔지니어다 그럼 무조건 워털루 출신이에요. 네, 무조건 워털루 출신들은 실리콘밸리, 뭐 트위터 이런 데서 일하는데 그리고 트위터 출신 진짜 많아요. 왜냐면 애들이 되게 세거든요. 트위터가 엄청 빡세잖아요. 일론 마스크 때문에. 근데 어쨌든 모타바가 얘기하려고 하는 거는 실패 케이스에 대해서 오늘 얘기하려고 하는 거예요. 내가 실패 케이스, 참고로, 400억 정도 자기가 펀드레이징도 해보고, 스타트업도 여러 번 해봤고, 제가 모타바를 어떻게 알았냐면, YC 스타트업의 CTO로 있었을 때 제가 이제 알게 됐어요. 자, 근데 처음에 만들려고 했던 툴이 뭐냐면, 연구자들을 위한 툴이에요. 근데 연구자들이, 얘는 자기가 PhD 학생이었으니까 어떻게 연구하는지 알잖아. 그러니까 협업 문화에 대해서 경쟁 심리 막 이런 것 때문에 협업을 제대로 안 한다는 거예요. 첫 번째. 그래서 야, 깃허브 같은 걸 하나 만들자. 두 번째, 신뢰 이슈. 무슨 말이냐면 누가 얼마나 하는지를 잘 모르니까 여기에다가 자기 이름 쓱 넣고 자기 사이테이션 받고 아까 자기도 800번 사이테이션 됐다고 하잖아요. 엄청 많이 사이테이션 된 거잖아요. 언급이 된 거잖아요. 어떤 스터디에 대해서. 그러니까 이런 신뢰 이슈가 되게 막 팽배한 거예요. 논문 이쪽이. 여러분 아카데미아 잘 아시겠지만 그 다음에 세 번째 프로세스가 굉장히 느려요. 논문 페이퍼가 하나 나오고 여기에서 어떤 저명한 저널까지 올려지는데 어떤 여러 가지 폭도 굉장히 낮으니까 그런 것들 때문에 이 비효율성을 죽이려고 연구 툴을 만드는데 이걸 깃허브 같이 만든 거예요. 진짜 있어 볼만해. 투자되었어도 한번 볼 것 같아. 근데 문제는 망했다는 거죠. 왜 망했냐? 첫 번째, 문제를 하나의 단위의 문제로만 국한하지 않았다는 거예요. 오늘 우리가 얘기한 건 똑같, 나 이거 보지도 못했어요. 이거 처음 듣는 렉처예요. 근데 똑같은 얘기를 실리콘밸리도 하는 거예요. 하나 단위의 문제에만 올인하셔야 된다. 왜냐? 창업자는 흥분한다. 야, 기탑 만들자고 내가 왔지. 스탠포드하고 워터로 때려치고 왔지. 이거 뭐, 요거 조그만한 거, 납 에이프론 하나 만들기로 내가 왔어? 흥분한다는 거예요. 모이니까. 잔치집이라서. 그 다음에 세 번째, 기술 중심으로만 포커스 한다는 거예요, 지금. 야, 너가 PhD 출신인데, 못해봐. 너 이런 거 만들려고 왔지. 너가 조그만 거 왜 만들어? 기술 중심으로 사고를 한다는 거예요. 이게 PhD가 있고, 더 하기가 좋고, 여러분들이 전문 분야가 더 세지잖아요. 이게 더 세져요. 자, 그 얘기예요. 자, 오케이, let's go.
Awesome. Let me get back here. The main point was that focus on a single problem, because in related to the example that I was talking about, is that we really tried to build simultaneously, not one, we didn't try to only solve one problem, but we wanted to build a new community. We wanted to build a new way to do research. We wanted to build a new platform to do modular later. It's a complex, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but something similar to work, but it's more complex. It's very good for equation writing, and it's a scientific way to do it, right? So we wanted to provide a new technology for document managing, a new way to do peer review. And to make it even worse, we wanted to create everything from scratch. That was a big problem because we had a very limited resources. Of course, we were ambitious. We thought we can do it, and we did it, right? We did up to some extent we had a good progress. If you check the GitHub, you will be happy with the outcome. I think I learned the hard way. That wasn't the point. The point was trying to help the people with something that they are already familiar to make their research better, not to try to revolutionize everything. So they have to go through a lot of hard process to adapt this completely new way to do things. Most of the times it might not work. Sometimes it might actually work. In my case, I think at least in this example, that wasn't the most wisest idea that we ever had. So the second lesson that I want to talk about is that do not reinvent the wheel. I think this is very important. I think, and again, sometimes it's very hard. You might think that you're building other technologies, all the available technology that is existing to you. But if you really think about it, there might be some other technology that it's better. It's actually doing better in terms of it's easier if you start from there than anything else. It's going to become much more faster. In my opinion, you chose a good problem if it's actually painful for the user and up to some extent, at least in the start, is incremental. It has potential for a revolution, but it's not a revolution. Because if you're a startup, you have super limited resources. You cannot do or orchestrate an actual revolution until you do, right? So you have to be smart about it. Start from basically the start to build on top of the others, whatever they built, whatever solution that is currently working, build on top of that, make something, even one thing a little better, and perfectionize that, and then try to revolutionize the whole thing. So if that problem is painful enough, it's potentially at the start incremental, and it has a lot of potential. In my opinion, it's potentially a good problem to solve. Remember, control your ambition. In my case, ambitions is always a problem. For myself, this is a reminder for myself. Make sure that you will control your ambitions.
Love it.
So the third lesson for me, it was that because we wanted to build a community as well, right? And we thought building a community is not that hard. We thought if you provide something super cool, if the technology is something that it's going to solve a lot of problems from a lot of people, then they might adapt it. The problem was that, of course, we had a limited budget to make it to everyone now, to everyone. But I think you should know that you have limited time and resource. But building trust to build a community, it takes a long time and it needs a lot of resources, which you don't have. So technically, for a startup building a community, as at the start, it's hard and it's going to take time. So the example that I want to show is that you have limited time, use it wisely. Sometimes maybe building a community is a good answer. In my case, it wasn't. I'm not sure if it was the perfect case. And remember, you have limited resources, use it wisely again. And it's quickly you're going to get to a place that, you're out of budget. Make every dollar, every cent that you are spending count towards a specific goal that you have. Be very much conscious about it. Yes.
Please, yeah, you can stop at the slide.
Yeah. This one.
Yeah. You can finish the rest of it if you want.
Yeah, no, this is good. This is good. This is going to go to the next lesson. Yeah.
오케이. Got it. 네, 그래서 지금 이제 다 이해하셨죠? 어쨌든 다 이해하실 것 같아요. 네. 그래서 문제 하나에 올인하는 거 첫 번째. 네, 흥분하지 말라. 동시다발적으로 하지 말고, 우리 그때 커뮤니티도 만들고 뭐 하려고 하고 이런 거 다 하지 말라고 하는 거죠. 그 다음에 두 번째가 뭐냐면 되게 미국인들이 되게 좋아하는 단어가 뭐냐면 프레이즈가 뭐냐면 reinvent the wheel. reinvent the wheel이 무슨 말이냐면 이 바퀴라는 거는 지금 발명된 지 한 200년 됐으면 지금까지도 한 번도 바뀐 적이 없잖아요. 바퀴의 모양은. 그런 것처럼 이 바퀴가 완벽한데 그 바퀴를 대체하려고 자꾸만 그 바퀴를 대체하는 창조를 하지 말라는 거예요. 창조를 하지 말래, 스타트업이. 혁신하라고 하는데. 창조를 하지 말라는 거예요, 초기에. 기존에 가지고 있는 기술을 레버러징 하시라는 거예요. 네. 자, 사람들 앞마당에서 빌림을 하래. 이게 무슨 말이냐면은 이미 이 병원이 납제품들을 쓰고 있어요. 이미 여기서 화장품을 쓰고 있어. 그럼 그 앞마당에서 몰라는 거야. 다른 거 갑자기 왔다가 하지 말고. 이미 AI 건축이나 이런 것들 이미 막 쓰고 있어. 그러면 그 앞마당에서 놀라는 거야. 아, 저희가 그냥 플랜바이 요거 기술하고 저희가 제미나이하고 이렇게 섞어서 만들어 드릴게요. 앞마당에서 논다는 거는 뭐냐? 자기네들의 습성에서 가까운 그 지점에서 얘기를 하라는 거예요. 자, 그 다음에 혁신을 만들지 말라고. 혁신을 만들지 말래. 단계적으로 가래요. 너무 좋은 얘기야. 나 진짜 모타바가 이런 생각 하는지도 몰랐어요. 네, 단계적으로 아까 그 젤리 모양 보셨잖아요. 단계적으로 올리라는 거예요. 조금씩 기술을 올리라는 거예요. 자, 그 다음에 세 번째, 야망을 컨트롤하래요. 앰비션 컨트롤. 네, 창업하겠다고 우리 부모님한테도 다 얘기하고 친구들한테도 얘기하고 지내는데 내가 어떻게 나 에이프런을 만드냐고 얘기하겠어. 근데 야망을 컨트롤하래요. 똑똑해지래요. 실속을 따지래요. 그 다음에 세 번째, 커뮤니티 잘. 저는 이거 저한테 이제 적용하려고요. 아, 스타트업 커뮤니티 아무나 하는 게 아니고. 어, 여러분들이 이렇게 그냥 나는 융합이 되고 만들어질 그런 커뮤니티를 생각하지만 그것도 내려놓으라는 거예요. 왜? 커뮤니티는 돈과 기술과 자원과 플러스 시간이 오랫동안 필요한 거기 때문에 우리가 봤을 때 너무 멋지지만 우리 스타트업이 버젯과 그런 런웨이의 한계가 있는 이 스타트업이 그런 커뮤니티를 만든다? 너무 불가능하다. 그렇게 생각을 하네요. 오케이, 땡큐.
Awesome. So the next lesson is about the tech itself. You might think that, the tech, because maybe you're also like me, and at least me, I'm an engineer, or at least my background was in engineering. So I'm always super excited about the tech, sometimes more than, about the problem itself. And I think, what you should know is that most of the time, tech is not the problem. You can come up quickly with an MVP. I think in specifically in a community oriented platform, the thing that I wanted to try to build, support was the key problem. Not actually the tech that we built. We were able to build the tech. We were not afford to constantly or continuously provide reliable support for our users. And because we needed to build trust for the users, and our support was very much limited. So that was a huge problem. We couldn't manage to keep the users there. I think in the long run, you have to always care about your users more than everything else. Most of the time, they don't care about maybe potentially a quick, fast, dirty solution. They just want to solve their problem. They don't care how you're solving the problem. And make sure that your support system is really something that is valuable. You do care about it. And one thing that you should know about is that to make this amount of happy user, to have a happy user, to convert them from 0% to 1% of your user to be happy about you, it's gonna take a long time. It's gonna take a lot of efforts from you. It needs actual dedication from you guys. And I think some of the times you might actually undervalue this. I think we did. And this is something that I think it has a lot of value. And people actually care more about this than I think potentially even your solution. Your users are very important. Whatever, whenever you have even one single users, if you can make them happy, they're gonna bring more into your system. Take care of them, make sure that you have enough resource to support them in a way that they actually care and demand. And so that was lesson 4. For lesson 5, make sure that your community. I was a researcher. I was working in that community for around, I think, maybe 8 years at least before when I wanted to start this. So I had that assumption that I know my community, but I think I overlook a lot of stuff there. And because I think one thing that it was very important was you have to know how that community is accepting new innovations. I wanted to tackle that from a startup perspective, but the community of or the scientific community was not very much friendly with the profitable solutions. So you need to come up with some solution to actually make these two friends. I think our target customers were potentially not that much a wise idea. Maybe if I wanted to do it again, I will choose the target customer a bit more carefully. But because that was a problem that was important for me at the time, I was always caring more about, okay, let me build this platform for myself, let me solve the problem, and then I will go for the next step. But I think, for example, one example that I want to show to you guys is that I think we overlooked that target community because we thought if we innovate this platform that is perfect in every manner, and at some point we will persuade them to come to our community. But I think the way now that I'm researching the history of how they adapted this type of new technology. For example, there was this concept called archive. You most likely already saw some papers from archive. It has been launched in August 14, 1991, and it hit only 1 million articles by 2015. So it took a long time to adapt it. Then overleaf came. Okay, the cycle maybe potentially is getting shorter, but they started in 2011. They launched the actual version in January 16, 2014, and they reached to 2 million users after they merged with another competitor called ShareLatex on July 2017. And then this new innovation happened, which they call it open review. And that, I think that's very informative. If you do research properly your target community, you are supposed to get this type of information. So this open review it's an open source effort. And how they accepted it, how the target community accepted it, they were accepting it from a conference. Some authors publish a paper on a workshop on peer reviewing and publishing models on June 2013. It takes them some time to adapt it. I think they reached in 2025 around 3 million users only in 2025. It was basically widely got adapted and widely got used to it. I think we overlook all of this. We were aware of about all of this. We knew that these are all existing. But I think one very simple thing that we were able to do, for example, at the time was to write a paper or a white paper on your technology, which it was innovative enough. The community, okay, this is a new way to do it. Let's do it. We never did it. We were thinking about it, but we were never put a lot of priority on something like this. But because your community is actually, this is the only way that this community is accepting new innovations. So you have to adapt. You have to care about that part.
Okay, let me explain this. 그래서 일단은 커뮤니티가 우리가 하다다고 했는데 이 커뮤니티가 하다한 거의 네 번째 이제 그러니까 자 실패 케이스에서 배운 것들이에요. 네 번째는 뭐냐면 테크보다 중요한 게 서포트라는 거예요. 우리가 이런 기술을 가지고 왔어. 로봇 이렇게 사용해서 이게 아니라 이 로봇을 관리해주고 이 로봇을 이렇게 파인튜닝해주고 이 로봇을 관리하고 서포트하는 왜? 이 서포트의 핵심이 커뮤니티 그러니까 이 핵심이 우리가 고객한테 들여가는 노력과 의지, 헌신으로 구성되어 있고 이 서포트가 과연 누구한테 가는 거냐 보면 유저한테 가는 거기 때문에 그래서 본인이 깨달았던 게 그래 맞아 스타트업은 커뮤니티가 중요하긴 해 나만의 유저풀을 가져가는 게 중요하긴 해 근데 그 유저들이 왜 우리한테 붙어 있어? 서포트 때문에 나한테 도움이 되는 행동들을 하는 이 창업자의 꾸준함과 헌신이 있기 때문에 서포트가 들어가는 거지 그리고 커뮤니티가 빌딩되는 거죠. 테크가 있어서가 아니라는 거죠. 그거를 지금 PhD 컴퓨터 공학 박사가 얘기한다는 게 얼마나 역설적이에요. 그렇죠? 기술이 다가 얘기 아니라는 게. 그 다음에 다섯 번째, 자 커뮤니티를 공부하라. 네, 커뮤니티에 대해서 안다는 착각을 내려놔야 된다는 거예요. 왜냐하면 자기도 이 커뮤니티에서 스콜러로 계속 있었잖아요. PhD로 계속 이 커뮤니티 일원으로 있었지만 그렇기 때문에 더 잘 안다는 착각을 했다는 거예요. 그러니까 제가 여러분들한테도 말씀드리는 게 내가 전문가라고 이 분야에 10년, 20년 있었다라는 게 더 오히려 저한테 마이너스라는 거예요. 커뮤니티가 혁신을 어떻게 받아들이고 있었는지를 관찰하라는 게 이 두 번째 포인트. 이 너무나 철학적이고 너무 좋은 발상 아닙니까? 이 커뮤니티마다 혁신 기술을 받아들이는 습성과 타이밍이 다 다르다는 거예요. 그거 모르잖아. 우리는 좋은 러버 밴드 있으면 무조건 아니라는 좋은 화장품이 있으면 무조건 아니라는 거. 이 커뮤니티마다 혁신을 받아들이는 행태와 타이밍이 다 다르다라는 거죠. 그래서 아까 예시가 뭐였냐면은 각각의 지금 아까 타임라인에 보여졌었던 툴들이 하나는 뭐 1990년에 하나는 2005년에 2015년 얘네들이 뭐였냐면 다 커뮤니티에 접근하는 방식이 다 달랐다라는 거예요. 그래서 자기가 다시 돌아가서 이 실패했던 스타트업을 다시 했다라고 하면은 자기 플랫폼에다가 자기 논문을 많이 퍼블리싱 하는 걸로 다시 시작을 했었을 것 같아요. 네. 자기는 얘네들 하는 거 보고 나 이거 다 알겠다 해서 커뮤니티를 다 만들어 놓은 건데 그게 아니었다라는 거죠. 네. 커뮤니티가 어떻게 혁신을 받아들이고 이게 우리가 어느 시점에 어떻게 들어가야 되는지는 별개의 문제다. 그렇게 보는 거죠. 오케이?
Awesome. So for lesson 6, it's all about one great features. It's much better than have many incomplete features. I think I made this mistake twice in two different startups. I think I will next time that I want to do it, I will make sure that I'm not going to do the same mistake. I will choose one features, I will make it the best that I can, and I will offer it, and then I'm going to go to the next one. The problem is that most of the time it's hard to find that one single feature to make it perfect. And some of the times also when you are defining the borders of the features, those features are overlapping a lot into each other. So you are saying that, okay, if I provide this and this and this, then this is the full thing that I'm providing. And that can cause a lot of issues in the long run. I would say people don't appreciate the incomplete ones, even though if the incomplete ones have a lot of potential, they don't see the potential. They do see what you already offering. They don't, I think most of the users don't care about what you will offer. They would care only about what you are offering right now. And so choose your one single feature that you want to perfect. Put some time to find it, to make it perfect, to choose the right one. But when you did, try to make that perfect before going to the next one. And in my opinion, simplicity is always winning. I think I don't believe I know some users that they do appreciate a lot complication. Maybe engineers, maybe even I think in my case, scientists they wouldn't appreciate complication. So maybe you might thought that scientists are maybe potentially have complicated minds in several aspects, and they always see the problems maybe in a complicated way. Even they don't like complication. They do appreciate things when you are presenting them in the most simplest way. So if you do always go for simplicity, that's gonna become, I think, it's gonna in the long run is gonna become better for you and for them. So I think count on that. And one more thing that I think is interesting for me, and you have sometimes I do undervalue it, is that speed is more important than being right, or you have to reject your hypothesis fast. Just try to instead of potentially maybe there is a contradict between this and the other previous lesson, but first build something. Let's say that, for example, for the last feature that I was talking about, let's say that you already chose one feature, right? For that one feature, start from somewhere, quickly build something and reject all of your hypotheses. Don't wait to make it perfect and then, okay, put it outside. And the sooner that you put it out and just get some feedback, it's good. It's going to give you some idea. You can fix it. You can make it better. So speed is super important in a place that both time and resource is super limited. And I don't believe there is a place that time and resource is not limited. I don't believe if you were working in the enterprise or if you were working for research centers, if you were working in academia, in university, in most of the places, I think wherever you are looking at, you will see that there is always a limited time and budget. So if that's the case, then always the speed is more important than everything else. So go for that.
Okay, can I translate?
Yes, absolutely.
네, 오케이. 그래서 계속 지금 좋은 포인트들 계속 타겟하고 있는데, 자, 한 개의 완벽한 기능이 수만 가지 어정쩡한 기능보다 100배, 1000배 낫다. 한 개의 완벽한. 저도 제가 지금 뭐 스타트업 그 관리하는 툴 만든다고 해놓고 후원 장담해놓고 사실 이거 만들어서 누가 써? 지금 링크드인도 못 쓰는데, 그쵸? 저는 사용할 기능이 하나 있다고 봐요. 저랑 오피스와 부킹하는 거. 저는 그 기능만 완벽하게 만들려고요. 그거 안 쓰고 100일이 했어? 이런 생각이에요. 피터랑 오피스와 하는 거를 이거에서 만드는데 그럼 100%쓸 거 아니야. 그런 거예요. 완벽하게, 그 대신 완벽하게 작동을 해야지. 그거 저는 구현할 거예요. 그러니까 한 개의 완벽한 기능을 작동시킨다는 건 뭐냐? 지금 재선님한테는 오피스와 피터랑 하는 게 중요한 거예요. 고객은 결정을 할 때 지금을 놓고 결정하기 때문에 지금 내가 사용할 거 해야지 나중에 여기다가 컨텐츠 올리세요. 나중에 이거 투자자들 볼 걸. 이걸 누가 하냐고 거기다가. 지금 나한테 어필되는 게 제일 중요하다. 고객한테는 미래가 아니다. 미래 이거 필요하실 거니까 여기다 쌓아둘. 절대 누가 갖다 써. 지금. 자, 그다음에 7번째. 단순화. 단순화하라. 이게 왜 그러냐면 제가 여기다 게으름이라고 적었어요. 자, 스타트업하고 이 커뮤니티 안에서도 신규 기술을 습득하는 사람하고 똑같은 공통점이 뭐냐면 게으름이. 스타트업을 하는 사람은 이런 비효율점에 싫어서 게으른 사람이 스타트업 한단 말이야. 근데 또 게으른 사람이 신규 기술을 쓴다고. 그렇잖아요. 제대로 게으르려면 내가 신규 기술을 써놓고 나는 유럽에 가서 놀아야 될 거 아니야. 유튜브 콘텐츠 올려놓고. 그러니까 진짜 전략적으로 똑똑한 게으른 놈들이 쓴다고요, 우리 거를. 그러니까 단순화가 뭐냐면 하나만 완벽하게 해야 되는 게 뭐냐면 이놈들이 게으르기 때문에 우리도 게으르기 때문에 얘네한테 진짜 필요한 기능 하나만 단순하게 나오라는 거예요. 납품하려고 하는데 이 납제품 여기다가 설치하고 뭐 하고 이거 안 한다. 그냥 그래서 제가 가격 정책도 여러분들한테 여러 번 얘기했어요. 세 개로만 놓으라고 했잖아요. 하나 100만 원짜리 월에 100만 원. 뭐 그다음에 1000만 원. 그다음에 엔터프라이즈. 그건 문의. 간단하게 100만 원에 그냥 턴키로 편하게 그냥 전화 한 번 하면 저희 바로 갈게요. 그 다음날 바로 유튜브 올려드릴게요. 뭐 그 다음날 바로 화장품 납품해드릴게요. 단순화. 복잡한 거 누가 좋아해? 우리도 복잡한 거 싫어서 지금 직장 때려치고 나왔는데. 자, 그다음에 여덟 번째, 속도가 중요하다. 너무 중요하죠. 가설을 무료화라는 게 여기서 또 나오네요. 그쵸? Reject your hypothesis. 제가 YC 원문에 그대로 사용했던 언어가 또 여기서 나오잖아요. 그러니까 지금 우리가 배우는 게 다 실리콘밸리에서 날고 기는 애들이 다 하는 거예요. 가설을 빠르게 무료화래. 우리 가설이 맞는지를 체크하지 말고 무효화하래요. 야, 커뮤니티가 틀렸네? 이게 얼마나 많은 시간을 접하겠어. 로봇이 틀렸네. 들어오자마자 제가 봤을 때 몇 년 세이브했어. 몇 년이 뭐야? 몇 년이 뭐야, 지금? 무효화라, 무효화. 이거 틀렸다고 무효화 되잖아요. 가서 빠르게 무효, 빨리. 그러면서 덧붙이는 게, 야, 내가 봐도 가설을 무효하고 속도가 중요하다고 하는데 나한테는 중요한데 생각해보면 세상에 속도가 안 중요한 데가 있을까? 우리한테 다시 되묻잖아요. 속도가 안 중요한 데가 어딨어? 시간과 돈인데 다. 자원이 리미트 되어 있는 상황에서 누구보다 빠르게 CJ랑 콜라보하면 내가 블루포인트보다 더 빨리 먹을 건데, 뷰티 엑셀러레이터를 누구보다 빠르게 하는데, 이거 누가 먹을 거예요? 시간이라고요, 여러분. 그러니까, 밸런스는 해야 되고, 한계 완벽한, 이게 다 지금 똑같은 얘기야. 속도. 네. 오케이. Alright?
Perfect. So lesson 9 is to document. I think I wasn't at some point before. I was always documenting, but I don't know if I was putting a lot of value into the documentation process. I think now I know that it's super important because it's gonna help with the alignment of expectations. And that's super important. You might discuss something, I might tell you something. First of all, people are forgetful in big time. Even yourself is going to forget the things that you already communicated. A lot of details are going to vaporize. I think you need some way to get access back to that information that have been lost. And the more important part for me is that most of the people, including myself, I think you need time to digest something. You might have some idea about something. In the next iteration, if you had access to the documentation on or about the same thing that you already discussed, you can think more about it. You can see it from different perspective, and you will always have something that you can get back to it. So you know that you don't miss or lost the thread of thoughts. Okay, this is basically there, and this was what we discussed. And you will also control your excitement, right? Because you already have something that you can always reference to, basically refer to, and it's gonna be your reference. Put a lot of importance in it. I learned this in the last startup from one of my colleagues. I think I do super appreciate it. It was very simple way to do documentation, but it was all about, okay, what's a problem that we are trying to solve? What's the solution that we are thinking about? And those kind of stuff. There was always some clean structure about what we want to do and what we discussed already. So if you had a good documents that you can refer to after a meeting, that's going to be super helpful. If you just put all this messy information there, you will never use it. Document, it doesn't mean to document everything. It means to document in a very super organized way, in a super clean way, so you can refer to it later, right? So lesson 10 is to ensure you're all on the same page. So it's very relevant to the previous documentation is one way to do it. I would say consistently ensure that you are on the same page. Because for me, it happened that I had a definition about the proof of concept. I thought that's a common definition of proof of concept. But then I realized that no, their expectation was a complete MVP. It wasn't a proof of concept. And that caused a lot of troubles. But basically, be a lot careful about that definition of people in different life stages, in different from different perspectives that they are seeing the things. One single word can have many different meanings. So ensure that they do have the same exact definition of you. So, for example, if you promise to deliver a proof of concept, ensure that they know their scope. They understand that, okay, that proof of concept might not be reliable in many aspects. It might have some bugs or whatever. So ensure that, okay, this is the case. They completely, fully understand that, what this entails, right? So define the scope well. Do you want to quickly go?
Okay?
Perfect. So lesson 11, do not undervalue what you have already built. You are the main single defender of this, what you already built. You yourself, you shouldn't undervalue it. You should always question it to improve it, but you shouldn't undervalue it. That's a subtle difference, I think, between questioning yourself to try to thrive and improve it and undervaluing it and putting it aside for so nobody is using it. If you don't find a way to use it, nobody else will. So you are responsible for defending this product. I think one thing that you should also know, and I think it's super important, is that many others, they are having less technology, less progress, but they will do better. Why that's the case? Because most likely they don't undersell what you already built, what they already built, or they don't undervalue. They always try to constantly find a way to use whatever they have built. And I think this is an important aspect of being a founder, being a defender of what you already built. So lesson 12 is that selling is more important than tech. In most of the, I think, previous startup that it was working, is that it's important to build a strong selling team. I think we made this mistake that we were always prioritize tech stack more than everything else. But I think it's super important to go for a strong selling team. Maybe, I don't know what's the ratio or the number between, I don't know, having how many employees you have to have as a tech engineers and comparing to sellers. But I think it's the sellers should be at least twice the number of, I think, the tech engineers. Because if you can sell even nothing on a paper, if you do, you can sell an idea if you're a good seller. If you build a technology, you might not sell it. And that's bad. It means that you just use all the resources and you never used it and you never survive technically. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want me to go for the next?
그래서 일단 바로 또 제가 번역을 하면은 저희가 아까 재선님이랑 제가 아까 좀 얘기했던 얘기인데 내가 이렇게 프로그레스하는 거를 인정하는 것도 중요해요. 그러니까 지금 이 포인트가 지금 12번하고 연결돼서 제가 봤을 때 이걸 프리패스로 한 것 같아요. 여러분들이 영업을 잘해야 돼. 지금 그 말이잖아요. 기술보다 영업이. 근데 영업을 잘하는데 왜 플랜 바이 팀은 더 잘했냐는 거예요. 대서님이 그거예요. 핵심이 피터님 멘토링한 플랜 바이 팀은 왜 더 잘했냐. 기술력은 우리도 만만치 않은데. 근데 그 이유가 뭐냐면 내 가치를 제대로 객관화해서 알고 있는 팀하고 차이일 수도 있다라는 거죠. 그게 무슨 말이냐? 플랜 바이 팀이든 뭐든 내가 어떻게 해서 지금 진화되고 있는지, 가설이 어떻게 진화되고 있는지, 고객이 어떻게 지금 바뀌고 있는지, 얘가 지난번에 내가 10만 원을 불렀을 때는 됐는데 이번에 100만 원이 되네? 그러니까 진화를 내가 계속해서 하고 있다라는 거를 인정해야 된다는 거죠. 그리고 언더셀 하지 말래요. 내가 10만 원으로 다시 회귀하고 100만 원으로 다시 회귀하고 그러지 말라는 거. 제가 여러분들한테 얘기하잖아요. 2만 원, 만 원, 10만 원 중요한 거 아니에요. 그냥 100만 원, 200만 원으로 부르고 그 다음 고객한테 400만 원 부르라고. 왜냐? 저는 언더셀을 방어하는 게 우리 아까 얘기한 것처럼 방어를 해야 돼. 공격적 어퍼셀을 해. 차라리 더 질러요. 1,000만 원, 2,000만 원으로 질러봐. 그런 다음에 주워 담아봐요. 어퍼셀을 하세요. 차라리. 왜냐? 여러분은 제가 봤을 때 진화를 하고 있기 때문에 더 질러보라는 거예요. 네, 내 가치를, 내 진화를 제대로 포지셔닝 하는 거. 그 다음에 이어가서 영업이 기술보다 더 중요하다는 게 이제 그 얘기인 거죠. 종이 한 장 가지고도 여러분들 영업할 수 있다라는 걸 똑같이 얘기하죠, 지금. PhD를 나온 사람이 종이 한 장 가지고도 얘기를 세일즈를 하라고 하는 거니까 기술을 이 사람이 얕보는 건 아닌데 왜 이런 얘기를 하지? 그렇죠? 그만큼 세일즈가 중요한 거고 팀이라고 얘기하잖아요. 개인이 중요한 게 아니라. 앨런 머스크만 세일즈를 하는 게 아니라 엔지니어들도 여러분들의 코파운더 다 세일즈를 해야 된다. 이게 12번째고요. 오케이?
Okay. So the next lesson is that transparency is actually building trust. So don't put yourself in an awkward position. Be honest and don't be afraid to be honest about your progress with the world. So you might think most of the time. So the later that you communicate with the world, what is your progress, the harder it's gonna become. So I think if you start early and tell the truth, it's not only it's gonna build trust for you, it's gonna build a reputation, it's gonna build that okay, you are a person that you're just building on top of each other, right? And you're improving, you're doing your best. Of course, it's also revealing mistakes, but I think if it's a winning point for you, if you identify the mistake early. And by communicating that with the board in a transparent way, you can gain trust from the board and they can also contribute at some point. They can give you suggestions. So I think this is important. Unfortunately, most of the startup, because they are afraid of their money or the business side of the things, they are, or based on the competitions, they don't want to share that much information with others because they are thinking that, okay, sharing information is gonna hurt them and it's gonna give some advantages to the competitor. That's true. But the problem is that that's going to put you in an awkward position most of the time. You have to be very careful about it because you might easily overpromise something. And that's going to cause you a lot of headaches later. Because if you overpromise something, then you will put a lot of pressure on your team. And your team is going to, I think, it's going to have a very hard time at some point. And your productivity is going to go out of it's a very dangerous outcome for your team. It's going to hurt your productivity, it's going to hurt your team. And I'm not sure if it has a lot of good outcome out of it. So my thesis is that, okay, if you are transparent from scratch, from the early days, you gain some support from the community and you're also building trust. So people are gonna potentially be, if of course what you're doing. And I think the expectation is much less at the early days than at the end days. So the more that you wait and the less transparent that you are at the end, they will be, I think they will be more expected. They will have more expectation and you will be in more trouble. So be transparent from the early days, I think. And the lesson 14 is that to pivot smart. So at some point during the startup life cycle, you have to pivot. But I think some of the startups are gonna build on top of their previous progress, but some others might just put everything that they have already built in the garbage or in the trash bin. And that's bad. Basically, you already put some efforts, pivot in a way that you can use at least some of the things that you built in a way. Of course, when you are pivoting, it's potentially drastic change. It's a turning point, definitely. You might need to put a lot of things behind, but I think there is always a way that you can pivot more smartly. If you want to do everything from scratch again, then you shouldn't call it the same. It's not a pivot, I think, in my mind. It's much more than a pivot. It's a completely new project. And that shouldn't be that much. That shouldn't provide you that much good. Make sure that you're using all the previous progress that you already have. And I think that's it. If you have any questions, please.
네, 오케이. 일단은 질문 뭐 하실 수 있게 제가 조금 빨리 하면은 어쨌든 실수, 이런 이제 그러니까 스킬에 대한 부분이 세 번째 포인트였는데 실수를 영업해라, sell your mistake 이렇게 얘기해요. 네, 그러니까 이건 이제 사실 링크드인 컨텐츠를 쓸 때도 자주 활용되는 프레임워크죠. 내가 이런 식으로 쓸 수 있어. 지금 오늘도 사실 아프로바가 우리한테 이렇게 처음부터 되게 좋은 이렇게 기조를 시작할 수 있었던 게 자기 실패 케이스에 대해서 얘기하는 거잖아요. 그런 것처럼 되게 좋아해요. 유저들은, 네, 고객들은 여러분들이 어떻게 실수를 하고 있었는지 그런 실패 케이스에 대해서 스스럼 없이 얘기하는 거. 네, 그리고 경쟁사를 의식해서 정보를 주지 않는 그런 습성들이 있을 수 있어요. 저만 해도 그래요. 그런데 그것들이 여러분들로 하여금 어색하게 하고 여러분들로 하여금 뒷감당을 막 고민하게 하고 해야 된다라고 하면은 경쟁사 의식을 많이 하지 말라고 얘기하고 있어요. 경쟁사 의식을 하지 말고. 네, 어차피 좋은 기술 때문에 여러분들을 사용하는 게 아니기 때문에 경쟁사 의식을 하지 말라 얘기하고 있고 스마트한 피벗이 필요하다. 스마트하다라는 거는 기존에 내가 가지고 있었던 거를 싹 다 갈아엎고 버리라는 스마트한 게 아니라 내가 만들었던 것 중에 살릴 것들은 살려야 되잖아요. 그래서 다 버리지 말아라 이렇게 이제 얘기를 하고 있는 거죠. 네, okay. We can go on to question and answer. Yep. Yeah. I'd like to ask about the lecture 6 and 8 together. Building one great feature is forced me to move slower and takes longer to validate my hypothesis. How do you resolve this conflict between the two?
Between lesson 6 and 8, right? That one great feature is better than many incomplete ones. And also 8 was saying that speed is more important, right? I would say always prioritize speed more than everything else. Speed. What I was trying to say is that if you have to choose between multiple features and one feature, choose one feature, which is gonna speed up the whole process for you, right? And also for the one features that you are trying to solve, start from scratch, try to come up with something and try to just work on that. Being good at one single thing is much better than being not good or being average in many things. try to build that advantage, that competitive advantage for yourself, that you are very good at one single small thing. It doesn't need to be huge, but you have to be very good at that point. And if you are wise, you will choose that one single thing that you're perfect, something that is valuable for many, right? Or is a pain for the users, for many people. I don't know if that answered your question, but I think I got that feeling that potentially this is the conflict.
오케이. 네. 또 다른 분들 혹시 질문 있으시면? 네.
So, like, you said that building the community is difficult and like it takes time and resources. So, in our case, would it be better to like just use an existing community and try to like advertise and get people from there? Would that be a much better choice overall?
Absolutely. I think for my case, if I was using the archive community, if I was using archive labs, for example, we identified archive labs, but we didn't prioritize it. But I think we made a mistake. But if we were building from that established community, and we were building on top of that, and we were adding some small features on top of what archive is already providing, we were much more ahead. So in your case, I think it's the same. If you build, you cannot tackle many fronts at once. You have a very limited resources. Choose wisely. Don't go in after building a community from scratch, because that's going to take a long time. So if you want to do it exactly as you said, build on top of the others communities. Go to, I don't know, for example, let's say that there is I think in your case specifically, there is a lot of, I don't know, maybe Replitas community or whoever that have a community that's the most similar to you. They have the platform to help that. Maybe even if sometimes you build the plugin on top of that platform, is better than building everything from scratch and try to build that community, try to build that trust, try to build that the whole infrastructure from scratch.
오케이. 네. 그래서 내가 커뮤니티를 만들어야 되는 상황이라고 하면은 다른 커뮤니티의 위에 올라가서 기생해서 만드는 방식을 저랑은 할 것 같다. 뭐 그렇게 얘기하고 있어요. 오케이. 뭐 혹시 마지막으로 뭐 질문 있거나? Okay, but Tom, any last words? That was a very good lecture, I think. Yeah, any last words before we head out?
I think just it was great to meet you all. If you had any question, please don't hesitate to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I think I would be very happy to help you in any how that I can. And try to avoid the mistakes that I made. I think I am trying to avoid the same mistakes that I made before. A lot of the times it's very hard. Be mindful about that. But one last thing that I want to mention is that you have to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Just do mistakes, go for it, you will learn. That's a big award, it's a big prize. It's already making mistakes and learning. If you learn and try to avoid the same mistake, I think it's huge already.
오케이. 네, 저희 오피스 아워 이후에 팔로업 요청을 받은 기업들이 있잖아요. 네, 그런 기업들은 꼭 팔로업 하시고, 네, 그렇게 해서 업데이트 서로 주고받으면 좋을 것 같아요. 네. Okay, Mutaba, we're gonna let you go. Thank you so much for the session. We'll hope to see you again soon.
Perfect. Thank you so much and have a good one, guys. Goodbye.
Have a good one. Yes.